Feel like you're paying your bills a little bit late? If you pay your bills a little bit late, your mortgage, if you pay your mortgage late by 1 day, then the bank is going to make a note. Now, the bank's not going to add a late fee to your mortgage until day 16, right? Right? We kind of know how that works. But they do keep that payment history. So let's say you have money with Wells Fargo. You are supposed to pay on day 1. You don't pay till day 10. Wells Fargo can send information to those TransUnion, Equifax, Experian, and they write down paying late. And that shows up on your credit score. And that's what affects your credit score. So this is the biggest part. Payment history is the absolute biggest thing. Another thing is here, now we're going to get a little bit more detailed. So if you don't understand, just let me know. Just tell me to stop. This is called debt utilization. How much debt? How much debt do you have? Does it make you... Are you better if you have more debt? Are you better if you have less debt? What do you think is better? More debt or less debt?
Less debt.
Less debt. Do you think it's bad if you have lots of available credit? Let's say you have a credit card line, and your credit card line was $5,000. And you can use this whenever you want. You pay it down every month, but you always have $5,000 available to use. Is that good or bad?
Is it a must? Is it a must to have a debt?
It's not a must to have a debt, but it is very important to have some debt to show payment history, because it goes back to this. It's very important to have some debt. How much debt? It depends on your payment history. Can you handle more debt? Can you handle different kinds of credit cards? Now, if you have 10 credit cards, are you going to be able to handle 10 credit cards?
No.
Yes.
Maybe. Maybe. But if your payment history shows that you have always paid off 10 credit cards, you've never been late, then having 10 credit cards is not going to affect you badly. But if you have some late payments, if every once in a while you've paid late, a couple times you have fallen behind, sometimes you write a check, there's no money, then the bank is going to see if you have too much available credit. If you have too much available credit, then they're going to say, it depends on how you can use it. If you show with your payment history that you know how to use your debt, rule of thumb, 3 credit cards or less. And that's just credit cards. That's where you ask for a card to give you money. That's not a mortgage.
Yeah.
That's not your house. That's not your car. Because those are different kinds of credit. So it's very good to have different kinds of credit, but make sure you don't have too many credit cards. Because lots and lots of credit cards can show that you might be overwhelmed, or you might not be able to pay something, or if you lost your job, if your kid got sick. What's your most important thing? Taking care of your kid, taking care of your grandparent, and you're not going to pay your credit cards. If you have less credit cards, you might be in a better situation. So that's just how much debt that you have. And another thing is, now this is not age, okay? This is credit history. How long have you had credit? It doesn't matter how old you are, but let's say you got your very first credit card when you were 15 years old, then your credit history, let's say you're 45 now, your credit history is 40 years long with that one card. So this is not how old you are. This is just how long you've been using credit. And your credit begins when you borrow. So the time I go into a bank and they say, okay, I'll give you a loan, that's when your credit history begins. So that's the next thing down on what makes a difference here. So we have the first most important thing, payment history. Next most important thing, how much debt do you have? Do you have a lot of available debt? Then, if you have a long history, even if you have a 700 score, if you've only been using credit, any kind of credit, student loan, car loan, credit card, any kind of credit, if you've been using it only for 1 year, you are not going to get approved for a $10,000 loan. Even if you have a lot of money, it's because your credit history is too short. You see what I'm saying? Anyway, so then this is the mix of credit. Next thing down is the mix of credit is I have one car, I have one credit card, I have one Victoria's Secret card. Those are all different kinds. Those are all different kinds of credit. And so your mix of credit, it just shows, it's not very important, but it just shows financial maturity. If you can make on-time payments, it's good to have maybe one store card, maybe one credit card, and that's in addition to your house, if you have one, or to your car.
Student loan. So what you're saying
Your
is
student loan.
you want to have credit cards that you can pay off, right? So you don't want to get credit cards just to build credit history.
Yes.
You want to get credit cards to prove that you can pay them on time and all of that.
If you have no credit cards and no credit history, then that's where that secured card would be. It's a great way to start. Because if you have no credit history, you're not going to get a credit card. They're going to say no. So that's why you say, I'd like to do a secured card. You go to any bank, sit down and say, I would like to do a secured card to start some credit history. And they'll help you out. Because that's your own money. That's your money. That's not the bank's money, so they don't care. Yeah. That's your money you're putting down. And this one really confuses people, but I want to be clear about inquiries. Has anybody had their credit score lowered by asking for credit? Has anybody ever heard of that?
Inquiries.
When you go to a bank and you say, I would like a credit card, and you ask the bank, they look up your credit, they look up your information. Have you ever gone into a bank to ask for a loan, for a car loan? Anybody? If the bank is going to see if you can pay off a debt, they need to see at least a year or so, at least a year or 2 years of job history, of credit history.
Okay.
And then it's up to them. If you ask for a $500 loan and you make $3,000 per month and you can prove it, then they're more likely to give you that. It just really depends on your situation.
Okay.
So that's why it's best to go into the bank and sit down and talk to a bank representative so they can talk about what's most appropriate for you.